Okay, let's grab our seats. We're ready to go. Let's grab our seats. Welcome back, everybody. Welcome back. Go Lions. I'm Tim Nashif. I'm the chairman of the Mannahouse Christian Academy School Board. Whether you were Temple Christian, City Christian, or Mannahouse Christian, thank you for joining us in our legacy of faith. 50 years. That's 50 years of serving God through a Christian education. Now stand up with us. I want you to know this band behind me, every one of them is alumni. So our alumni band is going to lead us in a time of worship.
Worship together today. Come on. Praise in the valley, praise on the mountain, praise in the valley. Praise when I'm doubting, I'll praise when I'm numbered, praise when surrounded, praise is the water my enemies drowning. As long as I'm breathing, I've got a reason to praise. How many know that we serve the same God? He's the same yesterday, today, and forevermore. Amen. Let's sing this together. I'm calling on the God of Jacob. I'm calling on the God of Jacob, whose love endures through generations. I know that you will keep your covenant. I'm calling on the God of Moses, the one who opened up the ocean. I need you now to do the same thing for me. Oh God, my God. Oh God, my God, I need you. Oh God, my God, I need you now.
How I need you now.
Oh rock of ages, I'm standing on your faithfulness, on your faithfulness. You're so faithful, Lord. Great enough. I'm calling on the God of Mary, whose favor rests upon the lowly. I know all things are possible. I'm calling on the God of David, who made a shepherd boy courageous. I may not face Goliath, but I've got my own giants. Oh God, my God, I need you. Oh God, my God, I need you now. How I need you now. Oh rock of ages, I'm standing on your faithfulness, on your faithfulness. Oh God, my God, I need you. Oh God, my God, I need you now. How I need you now. Oh rock of ages, I'm standing on your faithfulness, on your faithfulness. We're standing on your faithfulness, oh Lord. You are so good, oh God. You are so good, oh God. Faithful through the years. You heard your children. You hear your children now. You are the same God. You are the same God. You answered prayers back then. You will answer now. You are the same God. You are the same God. You were providing and you are providing now. You are the same God. You are the same God. You moved in power then. You move in power now. You are the same God. You are the same God. You were a healer then. You were a healer now. You are the same. You are the same God. You are the
Well, as you can see, this is a staff and alumni-driven event. So cheer one more time for our alumni band. I want to tell you too, the food and the refreshments you're going to have later, they're going to be absolutely fabulous. That is catered by alumni. Okay, so all of that, all of the decorations you're going to see have all been put together by alumni. So, you know, it's been a great 50 years. It's been a great 50 years. Say hello to our lion. You remember this guy? You know, I don't know what you're doing up here, but you want to help lead in a few cheers? I want to recognize some people around the audience. Can you do that? Okay, can we show a little enthusiasm then? Okay. Anyone who went to school here prior to 1980, stand. Anyone? Chris. Let's have a big hand. Where's the cheer? Come on. You got to lead it. You got to go. Okay. Thank you. Anyone who attended here prior to the year 2000, you were a student or family prior to the year 2000, please stand. Prior to 2000. Wow. Come on, let's hear it. Let's hear it. Okay. Family or student from earlier than 2022, from 2000 to 2022. Stand, let me see you. 2000 to 2022. Let me see you. Wow. Now, if you're a current student or your family of a current student, you know what I mean. And then, I want you to stand right now. All the kids, everyone stand. Let's give them a great cheer. So, thank you. Join us as we honor our past, embrace our present, anticipate our future, and celebrate the more than 12,000 students we've touched since 1974. You're going to watch a video right now.
Welcome to Temple Christian, City Christian, and now Mannahouse Academy. As we celebrate 50 years of God's faithfulness, we look to honor our past, embrace our present, and anticipate our future. Join us as we celebrate our legacy of faith. Over the years, we've witnessed the mighty impact of a steadfast commitment to both spiritual growth and educational excellence. To fully appreciate the strength of our community today, we must remember where it all began.
The thought for us was that we wanted to raise children that would be impactors in the public schools. And so we felt that maybe we should start a Christian school so that we could start reassuring kids, especially in their junior high years, which I taught.
In the early 1970s, a clear vision emerged from Bible Temple Church, a vision to provide our children with a solid education rooted in Christian values. Pastor Dick Iverson heard that call and, along with Larry and Carolyn Wade, began taking practical steps to make it a reality. In September 1974, Bible Temple Christian School opened its doors to 103 elementary students. With a focus on individualized learning and an accelerated Christian education curriculum, the school set out to nurture both academic achievement and spiritual growth. Between 1977 and 1978, a large facility became available. In September 1978, the school moved into this new space and enrollment reached 238 students. That same year, a key leadership change took place. Larry Wade began the year as principal, but mid-year, Howdy Sliger assumed the role.
Howdy was the principal for 13 years, and I worked at the school. I added it up, and it was 17 and a half years that I worked at the school. And we started with Brother Dick inviting Howdy and I into his office, and he presented a plan to us of Howdy taking over the school.
Some big memories in the elementary school days down there on 76 and Gleason was definitely Mr. Sliger. As principal, I mean, he was fearsome and lovable and just this presence everywhere. And I remember seeing him outside of school at church or at a wedding or something and just being in awe of, like, that's our principal, Mr. Sliger. Oh my word.
As the 1980s and 1990s unfolded, our school entered a period of significant change. The move to new facilities opened the door for a more traditional classroom experience. During these years, our classrooms became vibrant centers of learning. Teachers embraced fresh methods to connect with students, while students thrived in environments that encouraged both academic achievements and personal growth.
And it was in second grade that I remember sitting on the carpet for devotions, and we were talking about Jesus. And Mrs. Bennett had asked us if we ever asked Jesus into our heart. And I remember sitting on the carpet thinking, I've never asked Jesus into my heart, and so I need to do that. So I remember raising my hand, remember asking Jesus into my heart, getting saved for the first time. That was a really crucial moment for me, because I can now, to this day as a teacher, I can tie that in. And every year I do see children get saved, no matter what walk they're coming from. We get the opportunity to talk about Jesus today.
Archival photos from this era capture the dynamic spirit of change, a time when every new class and every updated facility brought us closer to our goal of integrating faith with education. As we reflect on these transformative years, a new name change came upon us as well. Temple Christian became City Christian in the fall of 1998.
It was really the atmosphere that was created. It wasn't just the tangible things that we were getting through education. It was also the memories that a lot of teachers and staff and admin made that made school and learning fun. It made it a place where I felt safe and loved and believed in, and I just wanted to be there.
In the early 2000s, under the steady leadership of Pastor Ed Mason, old classrooms were transformed, new classrooms were built, and the latest technology equipment was installed, all making learning more dynamic and interactive. Teachers brought renewed passion to the classroom, inspiring a deeper commitment and connection to students. As our facilities grew and evolved, so did our community. As time went on, new extracurricular opportunities, ranging from sports programs to creative art initiatives, expanded the ways in which our students could explore their talents and build character. International experiences and mission trips further broadened our horizons, offering students a chance to see the world through a global lens and to appreciate multiple cultures while staying rooted in their faith. Activities were also held at our school, celebrating the diversity of our students and staff.
Getting to do that in high school was so pivotal, and I found that I love other cultures and I love going to other countries. And so just continuing to develop that through school experiences and through youth and church experiences, we ended up going to the mission field and being in Cambodia in Southeast Asia for 16 years. And it was a wonderful, wonderful experience. And I truly do think that all those little tastes, all those little glimmers of there's a big world out there, there's so much more than what we had here, was what fed into that and fed into that appetite to go and learn and go and discover other places. And so I'm forever grateful for that.
In 2016, Lyndon Evans joined the school as the principal. We soon expanded into a multi-campus site with a new name. City Christian School then became Mannahouse Christian Academy in 2019. Across our 4 vibrant campuses, 690 students experienced a dynamic, multicultural environment where academic excellence and strong Christian values go hand in hand.
I see it impacting every decision that I make, from those foundational classes and Christian values that I was taught through my academics. I mean, I've been on educational curriculum boards, I've done mission trips, I've done various things over my career, and I see me going back to those classes of how do you defend your faith? Why do you believe what you believe? And making that intertwine into what you do in your career.
Here at MCA, we have modern classrooms with updated technology, sports programs with passionate athletes, and a supportive, lively community. Every success, every achievement, and every personal milestone is a reminder of the community effort. Teachers, staff, students, and families working together to build a nurturing and inspiring educational home.
When we came in, it just felt like home immediately. Like there was really no question. This is where we are supposed to be. And the girls loved it. And I was like, could this get any better? Obviously, this is straight from God. There is a high school, there is a college, the doors are opening.
From our humble beginnings in 1974 as Temple Christian Schools, a vision born from the heart of Bible Temple Church, Mannahouse Christian Academy has been dedicated to nurturing minds and hearts in a godly environment. For 50 years, we've strived to exceed expectations in Christian education, inspiring each student to become all that God calls them to be.
Yeah, it's a school that's unique for a few reasons. One, because of the spiritual dynamics that are part of it. Another one, because it's a ministry of a local church. And so as a ministry of a local church, it has a pastoral kind of heart and feel and passion. People really care. It's not just an educational business or an educational venture. It's a heart and spirit place, as Glenda said. It's a place where people can grow naturally and spiritually. And for that, it's worth all the effort.
Today, as we honor our past and embrace our present, we eagerly anticipate a future where our legacy of faith continues to shine and inspire generations to come.
Did anybody get 100%? That's a feat. Was that you, Andrea? There have been dozens and dozens and dozens of staff over the last 50 years, that have contributed so much to the school. And you know, in an event like this, it's not possible to mention everyone. And but if you're here, which many of you are, we want to make sure you understand that we recognize your contribution, and we're grateful for your service and your sacrifice. And we don't deny the fact that there was a lot of sacrifice going on, a lot of sacrifice. So again, we want to thank you and let you know that our appreciation level for you is beyond what you might think, but we want you to know that it's there. Okay, I think that's a great idea. If you were part of the staff anytime over the last 50 years, and a part of what we've done, teacher, aide, assistant, volunteer, will you stand, please? I don't care, just stand up. We can recognize you all over the room. There are several here that we've asked to share, either in person or by video, and have contributed and really have something to offer as far as giving us some insight of our history and all that's taken place. I'm going to invite Larry Wade, Ken Wild, and Ed Mason up to the stage here. Larry Wade, Ken Wild, Ed Mason. You heard on the video that Larry was our very first principal. Larry Wade was our very first principal. I want you to know that he was also a visionary for the school. In fact, the initial idea to become a school sits right with Larry Wade. And Larry and Carolyn also spent over 30 years as pastors on staff with Bible Temple, City Christian School, and Mannahouse. And also missionaries to Uganda for quite a number of years. And so I'm going to have Larry come and share with us. Give him a hand here.
Thanks, Dan. Thank you. I was told I have 5 minutes to do this, so I'm going to stay to the script. Was that good for you? Back in 1973, that goes a long ways back. One morning I was reading my Bible, and I happened to be going through Isaiah at that time. And I came to a scripture in Isaiah 54:13, and it said, "And all your children will be taught of the Lord." And that scripture just emblazoned itself in my heart, and I didn't know why. And so I meditated on it for several weeks, and it began to grow, the idea that this church needed a school. This church needed a way to teach its children not just 1 hour on Sunday morning, but all through the week, every week. And so it was the idea that we would start a school. So I went to Brother Iverson and I said, "This is what we need. This is why I'm thinking this." And he said, "Well, put it in writing and come back and talk to me." So I went away and did some research and came back with like a term paper of 12 pages in depth of all this stuff and put it on his desk. And he said, "Okay, come back and see me in a week." So I came back in a week, and he said, "I've been waiting for somebody to have this vision. I've been praying for someone to rise up and do this." And I don't know if he ever even read all that work and paperwork. There was 4 reasons that I thought we should have a school, and I want to read them to you. First of all, remember, it's all your children will be taught of the Lord. I wanted to teach the truths from the Bible. Again, not just Sunday school, 1 hour on a Sunday morning, but all week long. Wanted to share church doctrine and standards, what it is that we have morals and values that we have for the way we live. I wanted to be able to reinforce your family values. Whatever's happening in your family, you're trying to teach your children the way to live and trying to tutor them and what they should be in their life. We want to stand with you and to reinforce those values. And lastly, and not less important, to provide a good, solid education. Those 4 hallmarks were the foundation for this school. And it all started in '73 in the hearts of Dick Iverson and myself. We started the school, and I want to talk about 2 miracle provisions of God. There's been many of them, but 2 that stood out in my mind as I thought about this. The first one was starting the school. The old building we had on 76 and Gleason, there was very little space to have a school. And all that space was taken up by Portland Bible College. There was nowhere to put the kids. And so I thought, what are we going to do? So I was told that we were trying to get the overhead garage door, which was on the same block as our existing church at that time. So went down to talk to them after I found out that they had been there several times as a church, and they almost kicked him out the door, so we're tired of hearing from you. So they sent me down there. So I went down there, went in, found the owner-manager, and talked to him. He says, you know, it's interesting you come in now, because just this week, we're listing this property, and the sign is going to go up on the building for sale. If you guys can meet our price, the building's yours. So I ran as hard as I could back to get someone down to finish the deal. We took that building, renovated it, and in 1974, in September, we started with 103 students. That was the foundation stone, building-wise, of the school. Now let's skip forward 2 years. Brother Iverson came to me. He said, come to my office. I want to talk to you. I thought, uh-oh. So I went in, and he says, want to let you know we've made a decision. We're going to take this whole building for this whole block, including your school, the church, and everything, and we're going to tear it down to the ground and build a new series of buildings right here on this campus site. I'm going, what do I do with 225 kids? You don't just put them in your living room and try to teach them. So I started praying, and I prayed, and I prayed, and called out to God. And one day, I was going down 82nd, and I saw a sign on a building, and it said, call this number if it's for lease. So I called it, and it was a Texas phone number. Talked to the owners, and they had bought it from the original owner, pennies on the dollar, because he went bankrupt. And this building is still there today. If you go down, it's now a community college. It's still there. It was 1.5 acres of office space in one roof. Recessed lighting, carpeting, beautiful. Had 5 acres of parking around it we could have for playground. It was just ideal. And guess what we got it for? $1,500 a month. They paid the utilities, electricity, water, security. It was all there, and God's provision for the school. What do you do with 225 kids? You pray and ask God to provide it. And from that day on, the school has never lacked. It's been difficult at times, but it's never lacked because God's blessing on this school. One of the things that's happened is, because I was involved with the school and we got it started, is the fact that I worked for the school, obviously, as the principal. My wife was a teacher with the high school for how many years? 2 years. Jennifer, my daughter, was there 2 years working for the school, and Charlotte is currently, Malman, is currently working for the school. So I guess there's some nepotism involved there. I want to repeat this to you. All your children will be taught of the Lord. And because that's in God's heart, His favor has always been on this school. Thank you. Praise God.
Thank you, Larry. That's just well, in 5 minutes, I learned a whole lot more about the school than I knew. Just to take another few seconds here, I see Georgia Sliger in the front row. Georgia, would you stand, turn, and wave to everybody, and let's give Georgia a big hand. Thank you, Georgia. So I want to introduce Ken Wild, who's also a very good friend of mine. And I want to say that he was one of the original with the school. Brother Dick brought him in specifically. And he managed the high school and all the sporting and everything to do with that. But then while he was here, which was really for about 3 or 4 years, he then went, well, no, actually it was a little longer than that, 9 years. And then he went on to birth Capital Christian Center Church in Boise, Idaho. And that church is well run today. And I'm supposed to say this, it hurts me to do it, but I gotta say, go Broncos. After this, I will never say it again. And he also, besides founding Capital Christian Center, he also founded, and many of you would know this, the National Prayer Center in Washington, D.C. How many of you ever visited the National Prayer Center? Let me see your hands. If you ever visited the National Prayer Center, many of you. He founded this so he could bring groups from all over the country to come in and pray for our leaders right in Washington, D.C. And he started that, founded that in, I think, the year 2000. And so Ken has been a stalwart, not just for our school, but for the church. And I'm so grateful for you, Ken. He's going to come and share for a few minutes about the beginnings.
Thanks, Tim. Wow. It's amazing what God has done. I just want to give kudos to Larry Wade. You don't realize it takes a visionary to start something. Larry had the vision. God spoke to him. He brought it to Pastor Dick. They both together in unity. And while they were getting the vision, I was in Idaho in the backside of the desert. I just graduated from college at NNU, at Northwest Nazarene University, and I had taught 2 years in public school. And I was in a small town, Gooding, Idaho, where I met my wonderful wife. And I had been there for 2 years. And one day I was at the kitchen table, I was just reading my Bible, just trying to find the will of God for my life. And God spoke to me out of Genesis chapter 12, because I wasn't married yet. I was actually living in my parents' place while I was teaching school the first 2 years. And the Lord very clearly in Genesis 12 said, leave your father's house, and I'm going to take you to a place that I'll show you. Within 3 days, I got a phone call from Brother Dick Iverson saying, I want you to come to Portland and participate in the establishing of a Christian school. Well, I had my word from God. And so God brought me here in the fall of the summer of 1974, and we started the school together that fall in 1974. I believe it was the call of God, and there was a foundation that was built in those years that enabled it to go 50 years. We're sitting at Jubilee now, and I believe God is doing something extraordinary. And the foundation was established during that time. And I remember, I use this illustration. Back in 2001, I was in Washington, D.C., and I had been working with congressmen and senators to establish a day of repentance and reconciliation, to have all the congressmen and senators come and pray for the nation and repent. Well, 911 hit on September 11th, 2001. All of a sudden, there was interest in prayer. And so within 3 months, it was December 4th, 2001, God spoke to the leaders, and I was in the Capitol at that point, and they gathered all the senators and congressmen, and they had a meeting in which the chaplains actually oversaw that. And a man by the name of Lloyd Ogilvie, who was the Senate chaplain at the time, he said this in his very melodic voice. He's probably got the voice of God in my estimation. And he said, "Who called this meeting?" And all of a sudden, he spoke his own answer, and he said, "God did." Can I tell you this? I believe God did something special in the foundation of this church, of this school, of this house, in such a way. I'm doing the same thing that Lloyd Ogilvie said. I believe God did. God established this house. He moved upon it, and the rest is history. We're sitting here today with the realization, looking back at 50 years, what God did. We started with the ACE individualized curriculum, Accelerate Christian Education. And through that time, we were attempting to do academic excellence, but it was more than that. We also wanted to make it a community that was a family. I believe that we achieved that. We were a family that believed together, that lived together, that had the joy of establishing a school together. And like Larry said, we had to be really flexible because it seemed like every year we had to go to another building. And so we did that. I remember down at the 82nd building there. You know what the thing I remember the most? We set aside one whole room because the place was huge. We set aside one whole room where all the high school on break would always play field hockey. Now, those of you who were there, remember that? We played field hockey. And it was a joy because we didn't just want to be a school with academic. We wanted to have a spiritual foundation, but we also wanted to have fun. And so we had a lot of fun. It was an exciting time, and down at this location particularly. And I remember, too, we actually had several things occur, which was very interesting. We were a part of the ACE National Convention, because at the time we started this school, it was right at the end of the Jesus People movement. And there was seemingly there was a great rioting and great rebellion that was incorporated in that time. But all of a sudden there was a move of God to establish schools in every church. And so we were a part of that. And so we established this school in regard to that. And so we were part of this national convention. So 2 times we took teams back east. We took the school back east to participate in national conventions. I remember one year we were at Rutgers University. And at Rutgers University, we would go back and we would take and participate in academic, in sports, and music, and different competition. And I remember we took our band. And that year, when we were at the ACE convention, we had a parade in downtown Manhattan, and Temple Christian High School Band marched in the middle of Manhattan playing before throngs of people. I could remember just hundreds of people, maybe thousands. But it was an amazing event. We also went to Chattanooga, Tennessee, where we engaged in competition there. Brother Dick actually met us there and watched some of the competitions. So we were able to do more than just things around the school here. We also were a part of what we call an I-5 corridor, a Christian school movement, in which we would once a year, we would have what we call a jamboree. You remember that, Fred? We had jamborees, and we would go to Vancouver, BC. We would go up and down the corridor, I-5 corridor, and participate in the same thing, competition between schools. I remember this. Those of you who know Bob Wager At that point, Bob was in Vancouver, BC as the director over the Christian school there. That's where I first met him. And so during that time, we would have competition. We'd come together. It was a very, very special time. And then what happened, I'm just kind of trying to give you a history here. We were actually, after we purchased this property up here, Rocky Butte campus, the high school was the very first group of people to come and occupy this property. It was kind of a ghost town. And the only place we inhabited was down below the gym and a few classrooms up in the Bible college area. The rest of it was empty. And where we are sitting right here, right now, this used to be a tennis court. We had a tennis court right here, and which we used for the school. But we enjoyed that 1 year up here all by ourselves with all the fields and all the buildings, and that was a very, very special time. And so, in conclusion, I would just like to say I so enjoyed the students that we had here. The whole point of raising young people in the ways of God was to capture them both body, soul, and spirit, and encourage them in the ways of God. The seed that was planted 50 years ago is still growing. It's still making an impact. Let's believe for another 50 years and believe that God is going to do something extraordinary. I'd like to close with this. Two people aren't here, which I want to recognize, Howdy Sliger and Jan Drzezinski. Both of them were instrumental in not just the establishment, but the continuation of this great school. Jan, we consider her the glue, and Howdy was the cheerleader. And so together we would make this thing happen. And I just want to honor them. Georgia, Chris, we miss Howdy, but we know he's cheering us on right now. And Jan was such an integral part of what happened here at the school, probably the longest residing person in the school. So I just want to honor them. Thank you for coming. God bless you. Let's go another 50 years.
Well, after Howdy and not here today, and he's moved to another area of the country, but I want to mention him as a principal, and was here for at least a decade, and that's Bruce Paulson. How many remember Bruce and Mary Paulson? Wonderful principal, mainly with the elementary school, and at that time, and Ken alluded to him, but Pastor Bob McGregor was the one in charge of our high school, and he also, with our church, was our youth pastor at the time. So he did the youth, he did the school, and so Bob couldn't be here, but I think we've got a video from him. So if we can take a look at that right now.
Hello, my name's Bob McGregor, and I served as a teacher in 1982 when I came down to Portland Bible College with my young wife, who was pregnant with our oldest daughter, and I needed a job, and I had a background in teaching in public education, and they allowed me to teach 4 classes without ever really knowing who I was at what was known then as Temple Christian High School, 1982. In 83, I became what they called the supervisor of the high school. That means I was over all the teachers and managing the high school under Howdy Sliger was the principal at that time. And I served in that capacity till 1987. You know, I was also very much a part of the, what I would call the transition team that transitioned the school, both in the elementary school and in the high school, from what was known as Accelerated Christian Education, ACE, an ACE school, into what we would know as a conventional classroom school, both in the high school and in the junior high and also in the elementary school. So very proud of that particular accomplishment. I then transitioned to be the youth pastor of the church, and back in 1996, in the fall of 1996, I came back to Temple Christian High School, and I became the acting principal and also the pastor that was over both the elementary school and the high school as an executive pastor under Frank Damasio. And, you know, the two things that I think that are are really, really significant to me in what we accomplished in those days at Temple Christian School was this. The first was this. We operated on a shoestring budget. We scrapped. Teachers worked for pennies almost. And yet I believe we created a quality school with quality education, where the graduates from our school made it into universities and four-year colleges, and they're doing incredibly well in their careers and vocations as much as I can track them now at this stage in their life. And I'm very proud of that. The second thing that was so important to me and really is significant about Mannahouse Christian Academy, and was true with Temple Christian School, is this, and that is we gave the kids a worldview that was biblical, a worldview that God wants us to possess. It has to do with everything from how we should look at government, how we should look at family, how we should look at sexuality, how we should look at relationships, sociology and psychology, and every discipline that you can find in a university. Those kids leave our school with a view of life and morality that God has revealed to us in His Word, and that was imparted to those kids. And that made all the sacrifices we made worth it. So congratulations, Mannahouse Christian Academy, on your 50th anniversary. I can't believe it, the great work that God has done. God bless.
I want to recognize someone else, because after Bob, there were a number of years there where we had another principal come in, and I see him out there now, and I want to recognize him, and you'll all remember him, and that is Ted Bottler. Ted, could you stand? Could you stand, and let's welcome Ted. Thank you, Ted, for being here. You saw the quiz up there in 1999, which was the year that the girls basketball team won the 2A state championship. Well, Ted was the principal there. We were buddies, and he walked me through the stress of all of that. But I was the coach, and Pastor Ken Mallman was my assistant coach. And Ken, wave and stand. Ken, thank you for all your contributions to the school, everything you've done from the golf team, all your involvement. We're grateful, but we had a good old time, didn't we, Ken? And along with Ted. So thank you, Ted, for all your effort. You did a great job running the school, operating our school at that time, and we're much appreciated. Then after that, we have another very close friend of mine, and we worked very close, and there was a lot of changes that went on during that period. But I just want to mention that as you can see moving along here, there's no way to separate, as Ken mentioned in the video, the school is a ministry of the church, and that's unique. And there's no way to separate the school from the church, really. And if you look at all the leadership that's taken place, they not only worked in the church, but they also, many of them worked in the school. For example, the next gentleman I'm going to introduce is Pastor Ed Mason. Ed was part of our school for 17 years. Prior to that, he ran the entire children's ministry in the church. Ed and Dorcas Mason did. Dorcas, are you here? Dorcas, will you stand and wave at everybody? Then, if they didn't lack in any energy at all, they went and created a ministry called Stitches. Do you remember Stitches? They picked up foster kids and kids that didn't have, the poor kids in apartment buildings all over the city, and we used our buses to pick them up and bring them into events and to the church every single Sunday. And we did that for how long, Ed? How many years? You led it for 9, and then Melissa went on for another 5 or 6 years. And it was a fabulous ministry, but it was an outreach like nothing else. And then, because of all his concern and care for children, both him and Dorcas, Pastor Frank asked him to come in and take the school. And Ed led the school for 17 years. And they were fabulous years of growth. Ed, why don't you come and tell us about that?
God is good, isn't he? And we're here to celebrate the goodness of God and what he's done through people who were committed to him to serve and to bless children. And I'd just like to say I'm honored to be able to stand before you today and to give honor to those who have been part of this journey and this vision for so many years. When I stop and think about, I have a hard time not saying City Christian School. So will you forgive me if I have a shirt on that says City Christian School, and I have a motto that goes in the back, and when I talk about the school, all I ever knew was City Christian School. So kind of hard to teach an old dog new tricks. So, but as I was thinking about the school and its origins that go clear back to 1974, I thought, you know what? I didn't really know that I was going to have a place and a part in all of this. But back in 1974, when they were doing the renovation on the building, they came to me and said, would you be willing to come and help build all the ACE desks? So I worked probably for a summer under Arlen Askew, and we built all of the desks that were set up into the classrooms. And then in the second year that they were building a second round of desks, I was asked to lead the team that built those. So little did I know that I was getting in on the foundation of what God was doing, and I would be part of it later on too. So ACE Concepts stayed with the school for around 12 or 13 years, because in about 19, and I'm saying 87, I'm trying to put the numbers together, and I say 87 or 86 because I was not here and I came back in 85. And on the 4th of July, one summer of either 86 or 87, Dick Iverson came over to me and he said, Ed, we're going to be changing the school around, and we need to go from the ACE concept to a traditional classroom setting. And oh, cool, that's neat. What does that have to do with me? And he said, what I need you to do is I need you to go in and rebuild the school before the day after Labor Day. So think about it. It's already the 4th of July. The day after Labor Day is not very far away. There were no drawings. There was nothing on paper. I was just hearing from him for the first time. There was no architectural work done, and he wanted it done by the day after Labor Day. So we got an architect on it, and we went to work. The next day I had a team down there, and we were doing demolition, tearing things out, getting ready to put it all back together again. Now, every story has to have a little bit of drama, right? Well, the drama in this situation was we had no permit, and we had no drawings, and we had nothing to work with. And so what do? In these makeover shows on TV, if every show gets into one of those, the whole place is going to fall apart because of this drama that's there. But every story also has a miracle. And the miracle for this story was when I got the drawings in hand, I went down to City Hall, I went in, told them what I needed, and told them what we were trying to do, and they said, we'll try to help you. Now, this is a miracle. They sent me to every department. I would go through the first department, they'd look at the plans, they'd redline it, do whatever they needed to do, and then they'd call ahead saying, he's coming down to you, you need to look at these plans and you need to approve them. And the miracle was this: at the end of the day, I walked out of City Hall with a permit in hand. Now, how many know that would not happen today? That would not happen, but in those days, we needed it to happen, and God helped it to happen. And so then about I think it was 1999, the church asked if I would take over the leadership of the school. And I agreed to do that, even though I didn't have a lot of experience doing that. I'd been the children's pastor for the last 6 years, and so, you know, I had been working with kids, but taking on the school was a little different. The thing that worked well for me was that when I got to the school, guess who was there? Janice Dorzinski. Now, I can't say enough about Janice Dorzinski. Now, I know that Ken got to kind of acknowledge her, but I want to acknowledge her too. She deserves it. Now, she used to tell me that she was with the school every year except the first year. Now, I hear otherwise, that she was there the first year, but that don't matter. She was been here the majority of it. She, I'm sure, came to work every single day with a cape on, because she certainly was a superhero. And I loved that lady so much. Every day she was chipper, she was ready to go, she had the answers, she was ready to do whatever needed to be done. And me, I was just a little whippersnapper, and she respected me, she showed me honor, she, I just couldn't even believe that this lady was who she was. And I wish she was here. I wish I could just tell her over and over again. And I used to commend her, but I would just say Janice was a superhero in my mind. And the thing that amazed me is that from the beginning of the school until me, she had lived with every single principal and had been consistent and had shown respect and honor and served the school no matter who it was that was her boss. And I just can't say enough about Janice. So give her a hand. Maybe she's looking down and maybe she's seeing it. Now, I was asked to talk about some of the history and some of the transitions that have happened over the last number of years. And one of the things I want to do is I want to talk about the church eldership. How many know that Christian schools typically are not money-making departments? Did you know that? City Christian was no different. From the inception up until I was there, I think we operated in the red always. And the church was valiant. The church was committed. It takes a leadership that understands, and is willing to do whatever it takes. I have to commend the leadership, because when they moved from the Gleason Street, after they had built some very nice facilities down there for the school, they moved on up here and they built a new facility, a new building, and they incorporated major segments of that construction to be the school. And, that's no small deal. That is a big, big deal. And I just want the leadership to know that, sometimes it was tough. Sometimes balancing the budget wasn't an easy thing. But, through it all, they proved their loyalty and they proved their commitment to our children, to the existence of our school, by supporting and giving us the very best that they could offer. And so we want to say thank you that. So give the church eldership a hand. After I came on to the school, one of the things that I wanted was to have some kind of a board. And so the first thing that we did is I invited some of the parents, and I invited a few people to come on board with me. I think David Chown was on that group, and the Iverson, Royce and his wife, and I can't even remember who else, but we created an advisory board. And the advisory board would meet with me, and we would talk over things in the school, and they would be supportive, and we'd pray together. And that was really a very encouraging thing for me, because I really appreciated people that showed an interest and people that wanted to be part of the school. And one of the people that I invited to be on the advisory board, because I knew he had been part of the school in an advisory capacity in the past, was Tim Nasheff. And so I went to him and I asked him if he would like to be on the advisory board. And guess what his answer was? No. He didn't want to be on the advisory board. He wanted to create a board that it was a legitimate board that could make decisions for the school, that could help determine the strategy and the moving forward of the school and all of that. And of course, I had no control over that, but Tim proceeded to discuss that with the eldership, and he put together what became City Christian School's first board, and they were delegated by the leadership, by the eldership of City Bible Church to represent the school and to become the governing board of the school. And the school made some changes at that point, and it was an awesome journey from that point on. And I want to just say that the business board that was created, and I don't even remember what year it was, but it consisted of Tim, Steve Scheidler, Ken Malman, Dave Chow, and Bob Babosky, and later Rod Rosinski was in. But I remember the very first board meeting that we had, and they proceeded to lay out a strategy for the future of the school. And one of the things that they determined needed to happen was that we needed to hire a full-time development director and a full-time athletic director. Now, the thing that was amazing about that is, remember, we're a Christian school. We don't have any money. And we're functioning in the red. So that's, how are we going to pull this off? Well, all of those board members put their money where their mouth was, and they funded the first year of the salaries of an athletic director and a development director. And I mean, to me, at that time, I was amazed. I was really amazed that they were so committed that they were willing to do that. And you know what I know after what I know now is that was just the beginning. And their commitment to the school has been superior. It has been awesome. It has been through every phase, through every stage, through everything the school was going through. They've been there to help guide it. They didn't micromanage the school. They didn't run all the different things of the school, but they were there to help direct the school, to plan the future, and to help determine budgets and finances. And I just want to say thank you to Tim and the rest of the guys. And I want to also point out, I want to just give a special thanks to Ken Malman, because Ken was on the leadership of the church. He was one of the pastors there. And through every phase of City Christian School, he was one of the number one advocates for the school. Ken became a voice for City Christian School, and he was the one that spoke positively. He spoke encouragingly. He said we could do it. He never gave any negativism at all. He was always positive about what we're doing. And even if it cost the church something, we needed to do it for the sake of the kids and for the sake of the future. And so I just want to say thank you to Ken, because he was one that, really helped me and encouraged me during all of those times. So thank you, Ken. I don't know where you are, but thank you, Ken. And another thing that the board asked us to do was to put a community emphasis to our school. Most of the history of the school, you had to be part of City Bible or Bible Temple in order to enroll in the school. The board decided that it would help the school, and it would also be a benefit to the community if we opened the doors for people from outside to come into the school. And so that was one of the things that we did. Another thing that the board wanted done was they wanted the school to become accredited. And I don't know if you're aware of what that means, but that's not a small thing. And we looked around. We decided that the best avenue for accreditation was going to be the same organization that accredited public schools. And when we met with them, they were encouraging. They said, we think you can do it, and we encourage you to go ahead and try it. And so we went, and we had to make some changes in the school. We had to do some things to line up with the criteria for being an accredited school. But I want to give a shout out to Larry Lawson, because Larry Lawson's not here with us, but he taught for years and years and years in the school. He was in the high school, and while I was there, I used him kind of in a principal capacity for the high school. And Larry did basically all of the paperwork that was required for accreditation. He filled out the apps, he filled out all the questions, he answered everything, And I just can't say thank you enough. Another thing I want to say about Larry is that when I came to the school, Larry had been to the school for a number of years. And he was older than I was, more experienced than I was. And I wondered, well, how's this going to be for me to come in and be Larry Lawson's boss? And you know what? Larry was an awesome friend. He was an awesome coworker. He was an awesome person to be with, and I can't speak highly enough of Larry. Larry was just wonderful to work with, and you know, he was probably the favorite teacher of all times in the school, at least for the years that we were there. Larry was a favorite. I've seen Larry actually cry over the kids. I've seen Larry tear up when we're talking about some of those things. He loved the kids. He loved what he was doing. He was committed to it, and he did everything and more to help the school and to bless the kids. So thank you, Larry. There's two other people that I want to mention. One is Diane Callahan. Diane Callahan was with the school. Go ahead, give Diane a hand. She's not with us now. But Diane was in the school when I came, and she was in the office, and part of the responsibility that she had, at least for a time, was she was the church, or she was the school secretary. And one thing about Diane is you had to love her because she was lovable. Diane was so soft-spoken. She was so sweet. She was so peaceful. She was so calm that aura was just about her all the time. And you just loved, you know, doing things with Diane. And Diane worked for the school very closely up to the time in which she went to be with the Lord. And so we were forever grateful to Diane and her contribution that she made to City Christian School. Another person I'd like to mention is Joy Coleman. Joy Coleman also has gone on to be with the Lord, but I'm not even sure how many years that she worked for the school, but it was 29, 30 years, more than that. How many? 23 years. And she was a expert in English. Now, how many have known English teachers from the past that had a reputation of being English teachers? You ever heard of that? Well, Joy Coleman was one of those. If you were in her class, you were going to learn English. And she saw to it. And I've heard more than one person say that Joy Coleman was the reason their kid succeeded in high school. Joy was committed. I remember when my daughters were there, they used to go to convention. And one of the things that they would do is they would do Bible memorization. And they had what was called the Golden Apple Award. And then I don't remember what the second one was, but the Golden Apple was that you memorized the book of Proverbs. And then the second one was you memorized the book of John. Well, Joy Coleman was the person that was supposed to listen to my daughter, and she was supposed to hear her do the scriptures. Well, trying to learn the book of John before it's time to go to convention is a real challenge. And Joy said, whenever you are ready to say it, come to my house and say it, and it doesn't matter what time it is. We got her out of bed sometimes. We showed up and knocked on the door. She knew we were coming. We called, and she'd come down in her bathrobe, and she would listen to Christy as Christy would recite chapters in the book of John. And because of Joy Coleman, my daughter made it and was able to accomplish that. So we just bless Joy. We're grateful to her and the contribution that she made to City Christian School, and we will always remember her. So give her memory a hand too. Okay, I'm almost done here. The last thing that they'd asked me to talk about was the buildings, and we were able to exist in this building for, or not this building, this complex for a number of years. We had the high school in the high school building, which was, next to the small dome, and then the small dome had been built as the elementary school. But as the school began to grow and as things began to change, we needed more space. And one thing that wasn't very prevalent around here was space. And when we looked around trying to figure out what to do, I remember some discussions with Art Johansson, and we were talking about potential areas where we could potentially build a classroom. None of them seemed to be very good. Then one day, Art said to me, he said, Ed, I think we ought to frame out the area underneath the balconies and build classrooms back there. And I looked at him like a deer in headlights, and I thought, what are you saying, Art? I says, you think we're going to go to Pastor Damasio and we're going to say, you know, Frank, the school needs a lot of new space now, and we want to build some new classrooms, and we're suggesting that you subdivide the auditorium and let us take some classroom. How many think that's pretty smart? I told him, no way. I says, I ain't doing it. And he said, don't worry about it. And you know what? It wasn't very long when he came back and said, you know what? We're going to frame up the walls under the balcony, and we're going to build out classrooms on either side of the auditorium. And I was just dumbfounded. So, you know, thank God for that. Once again, it's an eldership that believes in what we're doing. But the building was no joke around here. And I want to just recognize a couple of people, because without them, we would not have been able to do it. We were able to take this space over here that was 5,000 square feet. We were able to remake that and turn it into classrooms. We had to re-pour the floor. We had to do everything in there. And we were able to do it with all by volunteer help. We didn't hire people, well, very little to come in. Some subs did come in. But I had two people, Ron Scott and Mike Rust. And yeah, give them a hand. Because without these two guys, we would not have done what we did. These guys were both retired, and both of them took on the commitment to build out these units as though they were being paid and they had a full-time job. And I tell you, if they weren't able to be there at work one day, they would call. And they'd say, sorry, I can't make it. I got such and such to do, but, you know, I'll be back tomorrow. And I'm convinced that the only thing that would have kept them from coming to work was their wife's funeral, or they cut their foot off or something, you know, because every single day they were at work. And how many know that is unusual to find that level of commitment? But Ron and Mike both were willing to do that. And when we finished that one, it was about 2 years later, we started that side, and we got the same commitment from them. And they came and they worked their tail off. And I called it the A-Team, and we had a great time together. We loved working together, and it was fun, and enjoy it, and it's a memory that we'll always have. Three other people, and this is because these are people who committed to the school, and I went to over and over again and asked them to contribute. One was Dan Mates. He was an electrician. And he's got his mark in a lot of different areas on this campus. And how many know to get some free electrical work is a big deal? And we always got free electrical work from Dan. Another person was Cornell. And I don't even know Cornell's last name, but he was a Romanian guy. And he came in single-handedly and laid all the floors in that side by himself. Now, you know, if you've ever done that, that's 5,000 square feet. And he would come every afternoon, and he would work on them until that was done. So just it was an amazing commitment. The last person, Robert Daniels, he was another one, an electrician, and I could call Robert, and he would come and do it every time I asked him, and they never seemed to tire of it. So I'm just saying, thank you for your provision, Lord. You helped us to do what needed to be done. And last but not least, I want to commend my wife. And you know why I want to do that? Is that she was with us every single step of the way. Most days she came to work. And she also was the one that started the Rocky Butte preschool and the 217 preschool. So she did all the research, she did all of the planning for that, and she did the setup for that. And that was an amazing thing. The other thing she would do is she'd go in the classrooms and she'd love on the kids, and she would just be supportive in any role that she could be. And last but not least, if I needed help, she would put on her work clothes and she'd come down to the job site. Did that hour after hour after hour. She's painted half of these rooms that we've painted over the last number of years. She puts on her paint clothes, she comes down, and we work together, and sometimes late at night. And so I just want to say how appreciative I am of my wife, Dorcas, and her help over the years. Thank you, Dorcas. Okay, finally, as I look at the theme that we have here, the legacy, I realize that legacy is really about good people. And when I look back at all of the people that God has added to our team to help us to pull off what we have pulled off, I just say thank you, God, because that's where the legacy comes from. And it's good people who are quality people with good character, with good morals, with good attitudes, and they come in and they share who they are with our kids. And the result of that is we end up raising up and growing kids that are an honor. So many of them just have been trained in the ways of the Lord, and they do significant things in the kingdom of God. And it's because of all the commitment of the so many people who have been part of the legacy of City Christian School, Mannahouse. There, I said it, Mannahouse. So anyway, thank you for listening to me. Thank you for allowing me to come. And to God be the glory.
I'll take yours. You're supposed to have your own. I think we have a quick video here, so go ahead and we're going to hear from Mark Estes.
Hey, this is Mark Estes, and I just wanted to say a huge congratulations to everybody for a 50-year celebration. It's so hard to believe, that Mannahouse Christian Academy has just been shaping lives and equipping students and making an impact for a half of a century. And as I just stop and I think about this legacy, I can't help but to just think about how deeply personal this is for me. Both of my daughters walked through the hallways there. They sat in the classrooms and were shaped by teachers who just didn't teach subjects, but they modeled faith and character and integrity. And as I look back after almost 30 years in leadership at Mannahouse, I can say without a doubt that Mannahouse Christian Academy has been one of the greatest ministries of our church. Thousands of students have passed through the doors and their lives have been forever changed. I can think of many of them. And the school's been more than just a place of education. I'd say it this way, it's been a place of transformation. It's been a light in our city and really a launching pad for leaders and a foundation for faith for so many. And I can still remember those moments when I saw firsthand how this school shaped lives, including my daughters. And there were chapel services where students encountered God in a powerful way. There were teachers who poured into students' lives beyond the classroom with mentoring and praying and believing in them. And I have countless memories of the hundreds of basketball games in our historic gym with Tim Nashif on one side and my family on the other. And oh boy, how I remember those games. And it wasn't just in these moments, but they're big and small, but those are the moments that remind us of really why this school exists. It's to raise up a generation that knows Jesus, that loves people, and impacts the world. And there's a verse that comes to mind. It says this, it says, "One generation will declare your works to the next and proclaim your mighty acts." And that's what Mannahouse Christian Academy has done for over 50 years. And I believe with all of my heart that the greatest days, well, they're still ahead. And the world needs schools like this more than ever before. Schools that just don't educate minds, but really, shape hearts. And schools that just don't prepare students for careers, but actually prepare them for their calling. And I believe that the foundation is strong and definitely the future is bright. So today, as you celebrate 50 years, I want to take a moment and just thank every teacher, administrators, volunteers, parents who've ever invested in this great place. You know, it's your faithfulness that's built something that's going to last beyond our lifetimes for sure. And I believe that heaven will tell the story of the countless lives touched because of your service and your prayers and your dedication. And to the students of today and those 50 years from now, I'd say this: walk boldly in your faith, carry this legacy forward, be the light in your generation, because what happens here, what doesn't stay here, it ripples out into our families, our community, and the world. Mannahouse Christian Academy, happy 50th. The best is yet to come.
Awesome. How many of you, you know Pastor Mark? You've seen Pastor Mark, yeah. If you don't know who I am, my name is Lyndon Evans, and I'm the current superintendent of our school. And Mark was the one that hired me. And I remember I applied for the position not having any clue what I was getting myself into. I was a public school teacher, public school administrator, had taught some college classes, and I was going to the Tigard campus. And then the position opened because Ed felt like it was time to do something that was less stressful. I don't know what. You just felt the call of God to go to California, apparently, and enjoy the sunshine and get out of the rain. So the job was posted. I applied. I had no clue what I was getting myself into. And Mark said, yeah, we want you to do this job. And I came in with a lot of experience on the education side of things, but not really having any idea at all about the legacy that's here. And so just to be able to communicate with all of you that are here today and even have this event, it's truly humbling and profound. You think about just how many years, how many people, how many students. It's amazing. The words that I've been thinking about, you know, as I've been hearing the stories would just be faithfulness, commitment, sacrifice, dedication. Those are words that kind of resonate because that's what it takes to do this work. You don't just decide, let's just go do a school. Okay, that's easy. Maybe, unless you actually do it, then you realize this is kind of tough stuff. My wife and I, Rachel, we ended up, I was in the Air Force, and we ended up being stationed right outside of Boise in this place called Mountain Home. There's no mountains in Mountain Home. It's actually a desert. I don't know why they call it Mountain Home, but they do. And there was no place to live at Mountain Home, and we found ourselves in Boise, living in Boise, and we landed at Capital Christian Center. I had a friend that was in the Air Force with me. His name was Richard Atwater. He said, you should come check out this church. We showed up at the church, and that's where I met Ken and Connie Wild. And Ken would talk about his time here at Temple Christian, you know, Bible Temple. He would talk about that season of his life, and I was thinking about my next journey after the Air Force, thinking about education. I come from a family of educators, and I thought, wow, how amazing would that be to be a part of that? You know, I kind of grew up outside of Portland. I know the area. And so in 1997, 98, when I was there hearing that, those seeds were planted. And so it's really bizarre. I mean, it's supernatural. It's God is what it is, to actually be here, you know, 20 years, 25 years later, and now be the one that's talking about all this. It's really just kind of amazing. God just does things that are above and beyond what we could ask, hope, or think, or imagine. And that's, again, another profound thing about Mannahouse Christian Academy, City Christian Schools, Temple Christian. It's just amazing. I want to thank Mannahouse Church again, because obviously we wouldn't be here without the church. They've been incredibly supportive from facilities, financially. They've saved our bacon a number of times when it comes down to the money side of things, but also just personally. There's been a lot of times when different staff members have encouraged me, have been praying for me, sent me text messages, and there is just this support that you feel here on the school side that is amazing. And so if you are a staff member at Mannahouse and you made it here, Walter, I see you. I think there was a seam here. Would you mind just standing? If you're a staff member, pastor, campus pastor, I know you don't want to stand up and be recognized, but if you could, Kim Marie, Mark Daniels, thank you guys. It takes a lot of people to make this happen because again, it's complicated, it's challenging, but it's incredibly fulfilling. A few people I want to just talk about. Again, I know we're a little bit over time here, and I want to make sure we still have a few more things to get through, but I do want to mention the office staff ladies that adopted me when I first showed up. They deserve a medal. So I heard that there may be some of them here. She's here. Heather Johnson is here. God bless you. Heather Johnson, Annie Hall, Carissa Workman, Carolina Hoagland. I had crazy ideas. I had this one idea, hey, let's just go volunteer and clean houses instead of like having a staff fun day. And they're like, are you crazy? What are you thinking? And I'm like, well, we need to serve. Like, that's what you do at church, you serve. And like, I didn't know a clue what was gonna be coming later on in the year. And anyway, they helped me. They do deserve a medal because they were incredibly gracious to all of my wild and crazy ideas. And there's an interesting thing that there's the pre-COVID Linden and then there's the post-COVID Linden. And it's really marked by that season because I had the privilege of leading the school through all of that. And that changes you. If you've never led a multi-campus school through a worldwide pandemic, I wouldn't recommend it. It does something to you internally that's a little bit like, wow, what just happened? But before COVID, we were doing wild and crazy things. We had a nursing assistant program that was like the only private school nursing assistant program, and my wife, Rachel, was help leading that. We had a woman named Keely Andrews who was amazing. Sarah Stanley was also a part of that. We had a drone program. We had computer maintenance programs. We had all this online classes. You could do all kinds of crazy stuff. We were doing all kinds of wild and fun things. And then COVID happened, and that changed things. At the same time, we decided to do a name change. We adopted a new student information system. We went multi-site and opened up a campus in Vancouver. And all that happened at the same time. And it was wild. It was wild. It was wild. Shelley Ball was a big part of all that. And you talk about like people keeping like pillars that you lean on and people that you like, hey, I need you. And I wasn't really verbalizing it, but she could tell. Some people, you can tell, right? And so Shelley's one of those that she knew I was struggling under some weight here. And Shelley was a tremendous help during that time. And her daughter, Shauna, was actually the first Vancouver pioneer that we sent over to the Mill Plain campus in 2017. And she had a cohort, a partner with her named Amy Minier, and they started our kindergarten in 2017 at the Mill Plain campus. And for 2 years, they set up and they tore down classrooms at the Mill Plain campus until we moved into the Vancouver facility in the fall of 2019. So I do want to thank the Vancouver pioneers, and those two, I mean, they're right sitting next to each other. They're big, in my mind, they're big deals. Yeah, stand up, Shelley, stand up, Sean, if you could, please, thank you. Shelley was our first principal over there at Vancouver as well. And again, I don't know. I mean, it was just the idea. I remember talking to Sean in the hallway. Hey, how do you feel about be our pioneer, go to Vancouver, start a school? And she goes, well, that sounds fun. And that's just kind of how it happened. It was just like that. And then the board got involved, and then everything got real exciting after that. But I do want to mention another teacher, Kathy Crow, a phenomenal teacher. I think we have a picture of Kathy. Let me try to get through this. Kathy just was an amazing woman. And I came from a public system where I saw all kinds of teachers, good teachers. and not so good teachers. Kathy was an exceptional teacher. There's this thing in education called standard deviation. We're looking at test scores. You want all the kids to basically have a small standard deviation when it comes to their testing, right? If it's a big deviation, that means that the kids are high and low. But if it's a small standard deviation, then the kids are kind of all at the same level. And she was honestly one of the best teachers I've ever seen when it comes to getting students all where they need to be. Now, some kids were terrified of her, but you know what? She got things done. And so she got things done. And, 4 times she struggled with cancer. We worked with her, and she was tough coming to school, even after, chemo sessions. It was rough. But she was just an amazing woman. She adopted 2 incredible girls and just raised them on her own. She said she was tired of waiting around for a man, and so she just took family into her own hands. And so she created a family. So anyway, just thought we could honor Kathy Crow real quick because she was a big part of our school. So yeah, thank you. The journey after COVID, we kind of hit the reset button on a lot of things. I don't know if you know the journey. We lost half the students. We had like 600 students. We went down to 300. Then we started again. A few months later, Oregon and Washington had different rules, and so we moved the school, the high school and the middle school over to Vancouver, and thank God we had a Vancouver campus, and because basically we sent all the teachers that were still around that could go, they went over there. And we had in-person school during COVID, and then Oregon had these crazy rules where you couldn't do that, and so we had a hybrid program. We had this 4 hours a day thing that was going on. We started a virtual academy, and you saw Gabrielle on the screen, but I do want to honor Gabrielle White because she was a student teacher. She's our current Vancouver principal. She launched our virtual school during COVID, and so Gabrielle, if you're here, could you? She was here. Yeah, stand up, Gabe. Thank you. Yeah. Yeah, again, miracle moments there, just having education available for the kids. That was a big deal. Well, then we came back and we got this grant for science, technology, engineering, and math. We've got close to $400,000 in grant money over the last 4 years, so that's kind of miracle stuff right there. We got money for the Vancouver campus, but then we got this grant for a STEM lab. And Patricia Williams, who works in our central department, her and I worked on this grant. We turned it in, and Murdoch said, you got it. And we're like, okay, now what do we got to do? And thank God there was a teacher that knew a little bit about science, technology, engineering, and math, named Tiffany Young. And I said, Tiffany, we got this money. This is what we're going to do. And she looked at the list of all the stuff. It's like, you're buying sewing machines. Why are you buying sewing machines? You don't need stinking sewing machines. It's like, well, can you help me with this? Can you help? And it's like, yeah, I can help you with this. And so I basically handed it off to her, and God bless her, because she put all of her creativity and administrative gifting into that and created this fabulous STEM lab. And I hope that you have a chance to take a look at it. It'll be open for about a half an hour, I think, at the conclusion today. But it's been a big part of our development and our innovation, and having classes that integrate curriculum, having engineering classes on site for students to really promote. That has been amazing. So I just want to thank Tiffany. Give her a round of applause, please, because it wouldn't have happened if she wasn't here, or we'd have a bunch of sewing machines and like, who's doing that? Yeah. So that was a big deal. And then we've been able to implement the STEM education K through 8 every single week. It's a mandatory elective, which kind of is an oxymoron, but it's integrated into the curriculum. So anyway, that's been a big part of what we've been able to do. We have concurrent credit things happening with George Fox University, Grand Canyon University, and Portland Bible College. That means that kids can take college classes here and get college credit for it and high school credit at the same time. So that's been a pretty cool thing that we've been able to develop. I didn't know if I shared this last night at our donor event. We have about 500 students in Bible classes every single day. We pull off 27 to 30 chapels a month. That's a lot of chapels. That's live worship, live preaching, response time. That's a lot. And so it's amazing just to see where the school has come. We have about 50 baptisms that we've done in the last 3 years. We're fully integrated into Mannahouse Youth and One Conference, and which used to be called the GU Conference, for those of you that don't know what the one conference is. So it's just amazing. And again, I take a step back. I'm like, wow, this is incredible to be a part of what God has done. And I'm just so thankful that we get to share this time together to celebrate just the legacy of faith. So I want to introduce Pastor Daryl Corbin. He's not here in person, unfortunately, but he is our new senior pastor. That transition happened between Mark and Daryl in October, but he prepared a video for us to watch tonight.
Well, hello there to Mannahouse Christian Academy 50th anniversary celebration. Man, my wife and I wish we could be there with you, but unfortunately we're out of town, and I wanted to just say hello and tell you how excited I am to celebrate with you 50 years of excellence in Christian education. I immediately thought of Isaiah chapter 54. The Bible says this. It says, "Your children will be taught of the Lord, and great will be their peace." I think about that verse in the context of it. Isaiah 53 is speaking of a time in Israel's history when they were in desperate need of redemption and in desperate need of restoration. And Isaiah 53 is all about the arrival of the Messiah. And Isaiah 54 opens with this idea that Israel's like a woman who can't have children, but because of the arrival of the Messiah, her barrenness is healed and she's able to have children. But children who aren't taught of the Lord isn't the ultimate win. Their peace comes when they're taught in the ways of God. Not just born, but taught. And I think it's important for us to understand that because Mannahouse Christian Academy and all of the names that it's been known by and all of the principals, Larry Wade and Ed Mason, and I think about all of the history. I want to say thank you to every leader, every teacher, every administrator, every secretary, every giver. Each and every one of you who've been involved and partnered with parents in the spiritual responsibility to train children in the ways of God. This is a unique call that's on Mannahouse, and people like Tim Nashif, the chairman of our board, and Lyndon Evans, our superintendent, and all of the principals and teachers, you continue to carry the legacy that isn't born just simply because Dick Iverson had an idea, or because Frank Damasio continued the legacy, or because I'm continuing to lead with vision for Christian education. It starts actually in the heart of God. And that's something that I want to encourage you in today in this legacy year, this year of celebrating Jubilee, like a new beginning, a year that we get to pause and celebrate. 50 is a powerful year. And it's a year that's always marked in the Bible by joy and celebration, but it's also marked by the beginning of a new chapter. And I just want to say to you prophetically that I believe this is a new chapter in Mannahouse Christian Academy's history. As the senior pastor and the leader of our church, I want to say that God has deeply touched my heart with passion that is, I believe, going to help us lead into the future and see many more children taught in the ways of God. So even though I can't be there, I want you to know my heart is there. We're going to teach children in the ways of God, and their peace is going to be great. Is society broken? Is culture filled with darkness? Just like in Isaiah's time, the answer is yes. But the promise of God exists that where there's barrenness, life will come. And where life comes, your children will be taught, and great will be their peace. I applaud you, Lyndon Evans. I applaud you, Tim Nashif. I applaud you, Mike White, the entire school board, all of the teachers, all of the principals, all the administrators. Let's teach children in the ways of God. I celebrate 50 years with you, and I look forward to all that God is going to do.
All right, we just have a few more quick announcements to kind of do before we wrap up our afternoon. We're on the evening, it's still the afternoon. I know it's been long, but it's still afternoon. I did want to invite Becky Faria to come on to the stage. This is not in the script, Tim. So we decided to do something for the chairman of our school board tonight because he exemplifies the legacy of faith.
Tim, in honor and recognition of your visionary leadership and sacrificial giving, Temple Christian, City Christian, and Mannahouse Christian Academy wish to express their heartfelt gratitude for your enduring commitment to Christian education. This man, Tim Nashif, he truly shows love God, love people. Love you.
It's the Christian Education Legacy Award, and I can't think of anybody more deserving than Tim Nashif. So thank you, Tim. Appreciate you. Some of you actually were inquiring about how to give to this event tonight, and so we did want to make that opportunity for you. There should be a QR code. There it is on the screen. We love QR codes here at Mannahouse. We have QR codes for everything. And so if you would like to donate and give to this event, just pull out your phones real quick. You can click on that code. That'd be wonderful. We'd certainly appreciate that. And then the other little announcement that we want to make is that we're launching something called the what do we call it? The Mannahouse Alumni Network. We're trying to integrate all the names of the school, but it's an alumni network specifically for those who have attended Mannahouse Christian Academy, City Christian Schools, and Temple Christian School. So this is something that we're trying to get as many people signed up for to give you access to information, know when events are going on, newsletters, those types of things. And so I'd love for all of you here, if you're a part of the school, to sign up for that. We really are trying to broaden our network and provide some more opportunities and information for our amazing alumni.
So we're ready to dismiss. And outside, we have got some amazing food prepared actually by a couple of the caterers that are alumni and graduated from our school, and that's Matt and Riley Hattigan. And the food is going to be fabulous, and there'll be seconds, and there's special food for the kids. There's photo booths. We've got yearbooks, believe it or not, from every single year, so you should be able to find yourself somewhere. We've got photos and pictures. That Ivy Hall is completely decorated, and we also have a STEM lab open for you to visit. It's a $400,000 lab. It's worth seeing, and I think Tiffany's going to help us with that. Are you? Great, thank you. So with that, go Lions.
Thinking about something